the allure of the city really is like, and I do love country life. The thing I hated about the country life was not the country life. Hi. So I'm sitting in the farmhouse, my grandparents' house, that we have been spending the past 8 months renovating, and I thought I would answer some questions for y'all because I get the same questions over and over again, and some of those questions I've answered ad nauseum over the past videos, but there are a lot of new people, so I thought I'd just make a FAQ farmhouse video before we get in here and we start making all kinds of content. So the very first question I get asked all the time is different wording of the question, but the answer is still the same. So why are you moving? Why didn't you renovate this house instead of buying a house? Why? A lot of those type of questions. So the general answer to all of those type of questions is I'm gonna have to tell you a story. All right, so story time, settle in, get a coffee, whatever it is that your beverage is, and we're gonna have a chat. The story begins in February of 2019 when I got pregnant. And I wanted to have a natural labor. I'm gonna make this as short and sweet as I can, okay? But I like to talk, so bear with me. I wanted to have a natural birth. I wanted to have a midwife birth. The hospital that I worked as a labor and delivery nurse at, I'm gonna take this hat off, I don't really need it in here, had midwives, and I loved the midwives that I worked with, but it closed. So I was out of a job and I was going through IVF, so I decided to work at the clinic with Ken. The clinic burned down in March. So then we were doing a lot of work in another guy's clinic. We were doing online e-visits and those type of things. And I got a midwife in Nashville at the birth center called Baby & Co. And that was where I was gonna have Beckett. And I did have, well, you wanna watch my birth story, that's a whole different video. So skip forward till August. And we had already talked about this. We traveled in 2019 almost every single month and sometimes twice in a month. We love to travel. It's something that we love to do. 2020 kind of obviously put a halt on all of that. But we were spending a lot of money parking the car at the airport for weeks at a time, the gas to go to and from Nashville, the flights, having a hotel, and my midwife was in Nashville. So we decided to get an apartment in Nashville for those two reasons. Because my midwife was in Nashville and I needed to be close to her. That way I didn't have to drive an hour and a half when I went into labor because I wasn't going to be induced and I didn't have a scheduled induction. I was going into labor naturally, which I did. And then also after Beckett was born, we planned on continuing to travel, and that way we would have a place closer to the airport, so that having a baby, getting a baby packed and all that stuff, we wouldn't have to get up at 3:30 in the morning to get to the airport and have a baby crying halfway there and crying on the plane. That was the plan. However, the plan was also, after Beckett was born, to come back to the farmhouse and that be our home base, but we needed to be close to the midwife for the first 2 weeks so that I could go to my visits and everything. And we had also talked about looking at real estate in Nashville. The real estate market was really booming and still is really booming in Nashville. And we had almost paid off our farmhouse. So we were looking at houses in Nashville to invest in as real estate to either flip or turn into a Airbnb rental property for another source of income. And so we had went to a lot of open houses, but we hadn't even been to the bank yet or anything like that. We weren't planning on living there permanently. We had a lease at the apartment for a year, so we gave ourselves a year, and that was going to allow us to have that base for travel, but then to stay at the farmhouse for majority of the time. And then when I was 9 months pregnant, the farmhouse burned down. And so we had Morgan living with us me and Ken and the baby. And then my parents were helping me because I had a very serious birth injury after I had Beckett, and I needed their help. All in a nice apartment, but not big enough apartment. Because we had 3 bedrooms, but one of those bedrooms had to be an office so that Ken could work. And so had found a house that we were interested in. And so then we got it. And that's why we lived in Nashville permanently for the last year, because we had to have a home. We had to have a home base. We needed office space. We needed a place to work. We needed good internet. We needed the things we do to do our job. And so that's why we're there. But it was never the plan to live in Nashville full time. The plan was to have a place, a smaller place than the house that we have now. But since we had to move there permanently, then we did look at a bigger house. But this house is split into ways so that we can rent out the house to 2 different people should we need to do that in the future. My grandfather died right before I got pregnant, and he was living in this house then. My grandmother and him both lived here their entire lives. This is where they passed away. This is where I grew up. I spent most of my time here. You can hear the full story on the farm video. I'll link it in the description for you guys about why this house is so important to me, but I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. It's where my grandparents lived, you know. Put off a lot of things after my grandfather passed away because that's what you do. You have time to grieve. So this house sat around for a while. And then also we had to take time to grieve our farmhouse and just decide what to do about that. And so we talked about it for months and months and months. We knew we didn't want to raise Beckett in the city full time. So our choices were to rebuild our old house, or my idea was for us to sell that property and reinvest that money into this home and this property. So this is a very small house. It's 1,100 square feet, but it sits on 40 acres. So we have good land. My grandfather farmed on this land. He raised pigs here. He did a lot of stuff that I grew up doing with him or watching him do. And I told Kim, I think the money would be better spent if we reinvested it into fixing this house and giving back to the land and putting our money where our mouth is by raising our own livestock and our own meat and a few garden veg, herbs, and things like that. And so that's what we decided to do. And so that's why we're here. And I think that pretty much answers most of the questions. I didn't do a lot of YouTube while I was pregnant. Honestly, I didn't feel like explaining anything to anybody during 2019. A lot of stuff went down, you know, and I didn't think I owed anybody an explanation for why we did what we did. But I did want to explain the process because I get a lot of comments about how you just bought a house and you just did it. Like, it didn't happen like that. We didn't just buy a house. We didn't plan for any of this stuff to happen. Thank God it happened in a way where we could recover the way that we did. But I mean, I would much rather have not went through any of that to get here. So the trip to the farmhouse was a bumpy one, but I'm very happy to be here and very happy that we were able to reinvest the money from tragedy to actually do something really good and bring this house to life. And I think my grandmother would be thrilled at what we've done in here. She dreamed of a sunroom her entire life at this house. She wanted a sunroom so bad, and now we have one, and I'm gonna enjoy it in her memory, and her piano will be in here, and a lot of her things will be in here, and we're gonna do a lot of farming to kind of, you know, pay homage to my grandfather too. But then also, We really want to have our own sustainable property. And you guys are going to get to see a lot of that because I'm planning on starting a farming channel on YouTube to document how we're doing things, how we feed our livestock, how we take care of them, how we water them, how we raise the dogs to interact with the livestock, how I'm going to be canning, like tons of stuff like that over on that channel because I think that it's important and it's almost a lost art to be able to live off the land, to be able to hunt the deer and have venison, to raise your own cattle, raise your own sheep, chickens, have eggs, and do everything yourself, not depend on the grocery store. We have the land to do this, we should do this, and I think it's setting a good example for those of you who may want to have a small garden on your property or who may sell your house in the city and move out to the country. Like, who knows? A lot of people are moving out to the country, and I think that's amazing. And yeah, so that's how we got here. The other question is, are we selling the Nashville house? Not right now. We don't have plans to sell it. We'll probably turn it into a rental property. And the other question is, are you going to be living here full time? For the time being, we will be mostly here, and then maybe some in Nashville as well to do any kind of things we need to do there, which is becoming less and less of an issue. Most things are virtual now, whereas before, we were traveling a lot to do meetups and book signings and speaking engagements and those type of things, and we don't really have to do that stuff anymore because no one is having meetups and no one's doing keto events and things like that. So we will be spending majority of our time here, which I'm very happy about. I do love the city, don't get me wrong, but the city is not as much fun. And it's definitely not as much fun as it used to be. So we cook at home, we very rarely go out to eat. I don't go to the mall anymore. We don't do things like that. The allure of the city really is like, and I do love the country life. The thing I hated about the country life was not the country life. It was the problems we faced with drama. And now I don't care. I am very happy to stay in my little farmhouse and play with my baby and play with the dogs and get my hands dirty, and yeah, that's that. And I'll be giving a full farmhouse tour very soon. If you're a Patreon, then you've already seen a lot of the pictures from the update because I gave you guys a sneak peek, but I'm gonna be doing a full empty house tour once all the finishing touches are done and we're ready to start moving in, actually moving in, I'm taking my sweet time with decorating this home. The only furniture that I have gotten that's new furniture is that I got Ken a desk, which will go in here. This is gonna be his study work area. So he got a desk and 2 chairs that will sit over here, and then appliances. And that's it. So I don't have a couch. I don't have beds. I'm going to probably sell some of the furniture at the Nashville house and use that money to buy furniture for here. And I don't want to rush the process because this is a very special house to me. I'm not going to just throw things in here. So yeah, it's going to take me a while to fully do everything that I'm going to do, but it's going to be a really enjoyable process because every piece is going to be sentimental. I'm using a lot of stuff that my grandmother already owned, stuff from my grandpa. Like I said, the only new furniture is going in here for Ken because we had to order a desk that would actually fit in here. The desk he has is too big. It would not fit. This is a very small room. And then the chairs, because, well, we don't have any chairs. I will probably bring a few things from the Nashville house here for just to hold space while I take my time decorating, and then either I'll sell them or refurbish them or something. I don't know. I'm letting myself mull things over. Like I said, I'm taking my time. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be close to my parents. My parents live right down the road from us. Beckett's gonna have a lot of fun and make a lot of memories in the same place that I made a lot of my memories, and that's something that I didn't think would be a big issue or a big deal to me, but turns out it is. I have changed a lot since becoming a mother, and my first year as a mom was 2020, and haha, what a banger that one was. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the world. I learned a lot about the importance of teaching your kid things, and I've just grown as an overall human, which hopefully we all did. And so my priorities are a lot different. Lots of things are a lot different. Anyways, I hope that clears up some stuff for you guys, and not to sound like a B word about it, but I am moving forward from here on out, and I don't want to look into the past and mull that over and over again about how we got here and why we got here and all the things that happened to get us to this point. I just want to be here in this moment and enjoy all of this that I'm lucky enough to be left. My grandparents left me this, and I'm going to respect every piece of property, every square inch of this house, and every acre of the woods and pasture, and leave it better than when I found it. Because I think that's one of the most important things we can do as humans, is leave the world better than when we found it. So that's our mission. Give back to the property, give back to the home, and give Beckett a great environment to grow up and learn. So next time you see me in this house, I will probably be giving you a tour and starting the moving in process. Thanks for hanging out with me, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. Love you, mean it.